Good evening and welcome to Diabetes Health Matters. Thank you for joining us. This series is here to give you the information that you want to enable you to live a healthier life with diabetes. Diabetes Health Matters is produced by Diabetes Africa with support from Eli Lilly and Company. I'm Dr. Joan St John. Over many years as a general practitioner with special interest in diabetes in the UK, I've cared for many people from different backgrounds and origins. I've had that privilege. In this series, we're going to focus particularly on people of African and African Caribbean origin, but the information that we're going to provide is universal and it can be used by anyone. I'm bringing together people with lived experience, so those lived experience experts, as well as healthcare professionals and other experts in a series of 10 episodes where we're going to cover the hottest topics I've encountered in my practice and about which we all need to be better informed, like can you reverse your diabetes, how can you avoid developing diabetes, and how can you improve your diabetes. This is so much about you, and we're going to be hoping to help empower you to live more healthily with diabetes. And so it's really important that this evening you join in that conversation in the chat, put your questions in there, and the team from Diabetes Africa will be relaying your questions during the Q&A at the end of the episode. So today what we're going to look at is I'm Black, I've just been diagnosed with diabetes and the shock of that. What now? What does this mean for me and for my family? And what should I expect? So you've probably got millions of questions coming to mind already. Who should you listen to? What should you do? Well, let me ask you a few questions because we're going to start tonight by asking you questions in the form of a quiz. And we want it to be really interactive. So we're going to cover some facts and we're going to debunk some myths about diabetes.
So Joan, I'm wondering if you could launch us into this poll. Everyone's going to have their questions coming up on their screen. If you can take the time to answer it, or we'll be able to go through. There's a mixture of polls and mixture of myths that we're going to be talking about today. So make sure you get involved. And we've got some myths to debunk. So everyone get ready. We're going to launch the first poll. Joan, do you want to take it away?
Thanks so much, Bernadette. So welcome everyone, and let's start with our first question. So is it true that eating sugar causes diabetes? Make your choice, true, false, or perhaps at this point you don't know. Now, hopefully by the end of this evening, you will know whether or not eating sugar causes diabetes.
Thank you, Joan. So we've got the results coming in now. 71% of people think it's false.
But 24% thought it was true. It's not the case that eating sugar causes diabetes. Diabetes is caused by a number of factors, including the eating pattern, how active you are, your family history, your age, many different things. So we'll learn more about that later. So let's debunk another myth here, because I often have people say to me, you know, back home, wherever that home may be, whether that's the countries in the continent of Africa, whether that's the countries in the Caribbean, everyone's healthy. Now, is it the case that diabetes only occurs in the UK or the US, let's say, for example? Well, it's not. Diabetes is throughout the world. Diabetes is prevalent everywhere. There's about over 400 million people living with diabetes throughout the world at this current time. So although we know that the prevalence in the countries of Africa and the Caribbean may be somewhere around 6 to 13%, that is really going to depend on how many people are counted as living with diabetes. So remember, it's all about the data as well, but it is worldwide. Don't forget.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Joan, for that. Now we've got the next question.
Diabetes, is it a serious condition? Is it true, false, or you don't know at this point? What do you think? Is diabetes a serious condition? What's your experience been of either living with diabetes or having a family member who lives with diabetes? What do you think? Is it a serious condition? Can't see any responses coming through yet, Bernadette. What do you think?
Yeah, they're coming in thick and fast. Just
Okay,
leave it a
fantastic.
second. Let's end the poll now.
It
There
is
we go.
absolutely okay. We all agree pretty much. 94% of people are saying yes, it is a serious condition, and yes, it's a serious condition because I sometimes put it that it can open the door to things like complications. And we're talking about complications in the eyes, the kidneys, the feet, the nerves, brain, heart, many different organs. But the other thing I would say, prevention is always better than cure. So although it can open the door to those complications, it's not inevitable. So we have another question. What do you think? You may have heard a family member say to you that they have type 1 diabetes, they have a touch of diabetes, or they have gestational diabetes, which is diabetes in pregnancy. Now, which one of those is actually not a form of diabetes? Which one would you say is not a form of diabetes? When they've said to you, I've got type 1 diabetes, a touch of diabetes, or gestational diabetes, which one is actually not a form of diabetes?
Excellent. I'm going to end the poll now. We've had quite a lot of votes. I'm very pleased with the results.
Okay. Now, I've had family members, I've heard them say, I've only got a touch of diabetes, but this is not an actual form of diabetes. And if they've said to you, I've got mild diabetes, again, this is not a form of diabetes. Diabetes, as we heard and realized before, is a serious condition because it can open the door to complications. So thank you very much for that, Bernadette.
Excellent. On to the next question.
So, Black people can have type 1 diabetes. Is it true that Black people can have type 1 diabetes? True, false, or maybe at this stage you're not sure, so you don't know? What do you think is the correct answer to that? Put your answers to the poll.
Votes coming in. Keep guessing. We're going to have another 3 seconds and then I'm going to end the poll.
Wonderful.
I think we're going to be happy about this result as well, Joan.
Yes, of course, it's absolutely true. I think the way this myth arose was that because Black people tend to get type 2 diabetes, and that is the majority for all populations, but for some populations it can be 90% of people living with type 2 diabetes, as some populations 95%. And I think it arose because people are saying the majority have type 2, so maybe Black people don't get type 1. So thanks very much for that, Bernadette. And if we're talking about people who are living with type 1 diabetes, I just want to point something out. We do an audit of the standard of care that's provided to people living with type 1 diabetes and living with type 2 diabetes every year. That's done nationally. And it's found in that audit that people living with type 1 diabetes are less likely to reach their targets for blood pressure, cholesterol, so that's the fats treatment, and also their glucose control. Now, these are the standards that we as a health service would be aiming for. So it's really important that Black people, and I'm talking about Black African, Black Caribbean people, reach those targets equally to everybody else. The ethnic groups that are in the audit are the white population and the South Asian population. And South Asian and the Black communities are less likely to reach their targets if they're living with type 1 diabetes. So we have another question.
Joan, yes, we're on to the next one. Very popular question.
Yeah, because again, family members may say to you, you need to get me the special diabetic food. You need to get me this special diabetic jam or bread. Is that true? Do people living with diabetes need a special diet of diabetes foods? Is that true? Is that false? Or at this point, are you not sure? Do you not know? So what do you think might be the answer to that? It's false, of course. The only special diet that And I can see somebody in the chat saying false, actually. The only special diet you need is a healthy diet. It's really important that people living with type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, all types of diabetes, just as with anybody else, have a healthy diet. Now, that diet needs to be tailored to them. And when we say diet, we don't mean a specific form of food, we mean healthy foods. So you as an individual will know what's going to work best for you and your blood glucose, but you don't need that awful word diabetic foods. Okay, thank you. So here's another question. If you're on medication, it's safe to eat as you like. Again, these myths, Bernadette, they've arisen from family members, haven't they? Because you'll be at a wedding, you'll be at a party, and that family member, their plates piled really high, and you're thinking, I thought they were living with diabetes. And they say to you, okay, well, I'm on a medication. Is it
absolutely
okay?
People see the medication, they see their blood levels go down, and they think, oh sure, I can eat that food now. But I can see why it's a thought that's been in the community for a while. But let's see what everyone said. Most people already know the right answer, Joan.
It is false, because that medication is only working with what you're doing already. So your healthy diet, your activity levels, all of those things, it works with that. If you overwhelm it with too much food, it's not going to be doing the best for you. So here's another question. If you've got type 2 diabetes, you can make it better. Is that true? Is that false? Or at this point, are you not sure about it? What do you think? If you've got type 2 diabetes, if you're living with that, can you make it better? What do you think?
Absolutely. It's a great question. I think some people, they're told when they are diagnosed with type 2 diabetes that it's for life, that it's a death sentence, and there's nothing they can do to make their situation better. So it'll be interesting to see what people think. The votes are coming in now as we speak. So we'll leave it another 5 seconds, and then I'll share the results. 3, 2, 1, and poll.
Yeah, the vast majority, thankfully, are saying absolutely yes, you can do something to make it better. We know that there's something called remission, but you can always improve your diabetes. So thanks very much. We're going to have more myths, more questions next time, and I hope you enjoyed that interactive quiz. So I'm going to hand over now to Bernadette to say a little bit about herself. She's amazing. I'll hand over to you, Bernadette. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joan. And like Joan said, we had over 150 questions and myths while we were advertising the event. So we're going to have to continue that next time. As you can see on your screen, we've got 2 events coming up, one in October about how can I avoid type 2 diabetes, and then one in November about, is it possible to reverse type 2 diabetes? We received so many questions about this that we felt like each of them deserved their own event. After this, we're going to have even 7 more events, 1 a month. So please continue to follow and register on www.diabetesafrica.org. One of our team will put that link in the chat at the end of the event. Diabetes Africa is a nonprofit organization. We were registered in 2019. And as you can probably tell, our focus is on Black people or people living in Africa, any ethnicity, and people around the world, including the UK, who are African and Caribbean origins.